pg202. Dr. McAllister cannot be blamed for doubting the ancientness of O'Flaherty's Beth Louise Nyon, since several different systems of classifying trees were current in medieval Ireland. For example, under Brehon law, 147, trees were divided into 4 categories with a scale of fines for their unlawful felling that diminished in severity according to the category. 1. 7 chieftain trees: oak, dare; hazel, cole; holly, culleen; yew, iber; ash, undis or aundis; pine, octac; apple, abal. 2. 7 peasant trees: alder, fern; willow, sale; hawthorn, seath; rowan, cawthon; birch, beeth; elm, leam, ida. 3. 7 shrub trees: blackthorn, drading; elder, trom; white hazel; finkel; white poplar; crithac; arbutus; caithney, and then we got furze and cranfir. 4. 8 bramble trees: fern, wraith; bog myrtle, rate; furze, aitained, or I can't say it, aitained; briar, driss; heath, frack; ivy, edained; broom, gilcock; gooseberry, spin. This law is much later than This law is much later than that commemorated in the triads of Ireland, under which the death penalty is apparently demanded for the unlawful felling of 2 of the chieftain trees, the hazel and the apple. 3 unbreathing things paid for only with breathing things: an apple tree, a hazel bush, a sacred grove. This may be explained by the 7th century poem at the end of the Crib Gablach, in which the 7 chieftain trees are listed, but with alder, willow, and birch instead of ash, yew, and pine, the fine for the unlawful felling of them being 1 cow, or 3 for the whole grove. But I assume that the poem is later than the triads, though earlier than the Brehon law, and that the death sentence for the felling of hazel and apple has here been commuted to a 1 cow fine, as in the case of other trees. According to medieval glossarists, Neemhead, meaning nobility or sacrosanctity, was applied to kings or chieftains, poets, and groves, in its secondary sense of worthiness to musicians, smiths, carpenters, cows, and church dignitaries. The commentator on the Brehon law explains the nobility of its 7 chieftain trees in the following glosses. Oak, its size, handsomeness, and its pig-fattening acorns. Hazel, its nuts and wattles. Apple, its fruit and bark suitable for tannings. Yew, its timber, used for household vessels, breastplates, etc. Holly, its timber, used for chariot shafts. Ash, its timber, used for supporting the king's thigh, i.e. for making regal thrones, and for the shafts of weapons. Pine, its timber, used for making puncheons. The triumph of Gwydion's ash over bronze alder at the Cad Gadoo is incidentally demonstrated here. The ash, which was originally excluded from the sacred grove, is now the only tree mentioned in connection with royalty, and the alder has been degraded to the status of peasant. The utilitarian assessment of nobility made by the glossarist denotes a profound religious change, and when the relative values of the trees can be expressed in terms of cash compensation for their illegal felling, the sanctity of the grove is annulled and poetry itself declines. However, while this law was enforced, the student for the oliveship of poetry had to memorize the following ancient catechism recorded in Calder's hearings of the scholars, which contains still another classification of trees. I can't read that. What is that? How many groups of Ogham? Answer 3, namely 8 chieftain trees, and 8 peasant trees, and 8 shrub trees. 8 chieftain trees: first alder, oak, hazel, vine, ivy, blackthorn, furze, heath. 8 peasant trees, namely birch, rowan, willow, ash, whitehorn, whin, apple tree, and to their letters all other shrubs are shrub trees. Here, the trees are those of O'Flaherty's Beth Louise Nyon without the intrusion of arbutus, elm, white hazel, and the rest. The unnamed shrub trees evidently included the elder, reed, or water elder, broom, and woodbine. The arrangement, according to nobility, is eccentric, the apple tree and holly being excluded from chieftainship, and it is possibly connected with the Greek 24-letter alphabet rather than with the Ogham 20-letter one and its 25-letter expansion. The subject is very difficult, and the Irish Alavs had no interest in making it plain to outsiders. All right.